Okay, our next question is about Fukushima. There are a number of questions about the agency's response to the Fukushima tsunami and earthquake in March of this year. And the first question is, what was the agency's decision process for making a recommendation for a 50-mile zone for Americans to evacuate around Fukushima?
Well, we had a lot of internal discussions about what we were seeing and what we were postulating would be happening or could be happening in Japan. Based on that, we came to we did some analysis, took some best judgments about what we think would be reliable inventories and releases from reactors given the conditions we were anticipating, and ran some simple codes that gave us an indication that there was the potential for releases out to distances of about 50 miles or approximately in that range. Given that information, we communicated with the executive branch and gave them our sense that from a technical perspective, if in the United States we were seeing similar things, we would be looking at enhanced evacuations. And from that, then, the Department of State issued a travel advisory which specifically recommended American citizens avoid that 50-mile area.
Okay, follow-up question on Fukushima. In your testimony to Congress in the week following the Fukushima event, you noted that there was little or no water in the spent fuel pool in Fukushima reactor number 4, and that as a result, that plant was releasing high levels of radiation. By June, it became apparent this was not the case, that the spent fuel pool had remained covered the entire time, did not catch on fire, as had been reported in the media, and that there was little or no damage to the spent fuel pool number 4. The question is, what information did you rely on in March to make the assertion that the pool was uncovered, and what lessons learned can you point to from this change in circumstances, and looking forward to future situations where you might be called to make similar analysis?
Well, I think in the situation we and I provided what was the best our best understanding of the situation. Thankfully, the pool appeared to be in a different condition than we believed at that time. But I would say that this was a small piece of what we were looking at the time, and the indications of high radiation levels at the site were accurate, and that was in many ways, I think, the issue that we were really more concerned with. And I think at that time, one of the things I testified to was the fact that you had such high radiation levels at the site meant that you were going to have challenges doing remediation and other mitigation measures for the plants. And that, if anything, was really the reason we had concerns about the pool was, to what extent that was contributing. If that fuel was uncovered, it would have been contributing significantly to the radiation field, which we knew was very, very high to begin with. So in terms of, in the future, I think the biggest lesson we have from this is the need to ensure that we have reliable instrumentation from the pools. Clearly that wasn't the case for a variety of different reasons. The task force that we established to look at Fukushima made a recommendation in that area, that it was important to make sure we had good instrumentation that could continue to provide reliable information even after a significant event like the earthquake and the tsunami. But in terms of providing information, I was in a congressional hearing. We're always going to err on the side of providing the information that we have and what we know. And if there are things that are inaccurate over time, it's not surprising that that'll happen in a situation like that. And I think for everybody's sake, it was a good thing in the end that our assessment of the pool turned out to be inaccurate.
Okay, let's stay with Fukushima for a minute. The NRC has, in its post-Fukushima list of actions, had a staff report that came out in July. The question is, how fast will the agency move on its recommendations, and do you see a consensus forming around which actions will take place first?
Yeah, I think the agency is moving very expeditiously on these recommendations. We have had the staff analyze, some more staff analyze the task force report and come up with some sense of timing and prioritization for the recommendations. Part of that was an assessment of those actions that could be done, that could really be started right away. And the staff came up with a list of things that they thought could be started right away. Actually, just yesterday, they gave us another assessment of all of the recommendations and how to prioritize those. And they added a couple more to the ones that could be started right away. So I think in general, the commission is coming around to, I think, what will hopefully be a general consensus position about how to move forward. But I would note that this is one piece of what needs to be done. The biggest issue ultimately are the plants themselves and getting the modifications done. And very early on, I suggested that we should shoot for 5 years to get all of that work completed. And the industry indicated, I think, similarly, that they thought 5 years was a good time in which to complete all that action. So I think we're moving forward expeditiously, and look forward to a meeting we'll have next week to talk about this prioritization of all of these recommendations and see what we think.